Hi, welcome. It's Linda Vanderlee from Living Aligned Coaching, here to tell you a little bit about the arts-based self-care practice that we began in 2021 and want to continue this year. A little bit about me. I'm coming to you from my barn here in Rupert, Quebec. That is before times was a place where I would invite you to come for in-person workshops. Now we're online, like everything, eh? One of these days, though, hopefully you'll be able to come here. A little more about me. I love music. I'm an amateur songwriter and I love the ukulele. I also love to use my body, move it in nature. This is a lake just a few minutes up from my place. And it's definitely something that keeps my mental health in a better place when I move. I also like to look at things from different perspectives. So some objectives for this practice. It really is a place to cultivate some compassion. A lot of challenges the last couple of years, and we're good at giving compassion to other people, I would say. We need a little bit more for ourselves. This is hopefully some support for you, and using the arts adds to our joy of creativity. And my hope doing it in a group gives us some extra support by just knowing other people are doing the same thing, and we learn from each other. This approach is something that's come from my formal studies, like my master's, the expressive arts certificate, coaching, so many other trainings when you lived as many decades as I have, as well as work with clients the last 30 years and my own lived experience. I have to say that I'm doing this for me, and I want to share it with you. I'm finding it's really helping. So my work in the past has been largely around providing creative support for times of change, and that was well before we had a pandemic. And so now maybe it's a little more awareness of how much we need some mental health support, no matter what's going on in our lives at all levels. So my belief is that we really can't pour from an empty cup, a stressed out cup. And a part of what helps with that is putting some attention on ourselves. And I would say that most of the people that come to me, my circle of friends, are very good at taking care of others, whether that be an elderly parent, your children, the neighbors, or the community. And sometimes we need a little support to also pay some attention to ourselves. What I'm going to invite you to do when you come to our sessions is to try and have a bit of a private space where you might want to make some noise, some sound. If you have them, bring along your whatever markers or colors. If you have pastels, crayons, any mark making. If all you have is a pencil and some paper, bring that. And really, you can do this process even if you have nothing with you, just yourself and your breath. Bring that along. Much of this experience is with your cameras off, mine too, and your mic's off, so it's very private, and we're still in group and in community, but you're very much in your own bubble, checking in with yourself. I will just be a disembodied voice leading you through a meditation, sometimes bringing in new techniques or new ideas, and we're never really sure, not even me, where we're actually going to go. And it's kind of fun. It does start with a pause and a breath. And I will just go over some of the different components that I am building this practice on. One of that is mindfulness. And that includes the pause, the breath, and the connecting inside. So that is my hope for us, is that we, with a little bit of guidance here, that we can stop and do that for the few minutes that we're together. Another aspect of this process is something I've been learning for the last 6 or 7 years, is something called focusing. And the language that you might hear me speak about is something called presence, which I'm sure you've heard something about. Also, the idea of parts. There are different parts in us that might be vying for our attention. The part of us that wants to be with friends, the part of us that wants to be on our own relaxing, reading a good book, watching a movie or something like that. And sometimes those different parts want different things and we get a little bit of a struggle going on. The other thing that we will talk about is something called the felt sense, and I'll be going into more detail about that. But really, it's that thing or a sensation that happens when we pause to check in with our body. It may be something actually our body tells us, like a twinge somewhere or a heaviness on our chest or a gesture like a big sigh and a shrug of our shoulders. All those things are messages that we can pay attention to. The main thing I would say about focusing that I'm very much loving is that there's no judgment. What we're doing is noticing, acknowledging, bringing some gentle curiosity to it, and just being with it. I know this sounds a bit paradoxical, but we're not trying to change it. But in not trying to change it and doing these other things, it kind of morphs on its own. It's kind of the magic of this thing. Once we've done that kind of meditation, I'm then inviting you into a part that, the part of the process that looks at expressing what we got in touch with in a lot of different ways. It might be movement with your body. It may be something that an image you want to make on the page. It may be sculpture if you have some Play-Doh hanging around. It might be a soundscape. There's lots of different ways that we can do this. And I'll be inviting you to try a bunch of different ones. And even though I invite you and maybe sharing different ways in, prompts and styles, you always have the choice to do what is feeling right, as long as you let your body lead, trying not to get our minds to take over. I sometimes will invite us to mix and blend with some of the different expressions, and that can be a really interesting process as well. Maybe some form of long handwriting or a précis as you look at something else that you did initially. So depending on the size of the group, we may go into breakout rooms and I will guide you in that process as well, just to share as much as feels right for you. It might be something, an insight you got in the process, or it might be, today I had trouble settling in. And just being able to say that to a few other people can be really useful. Then we come back as a large group again. And again, maybe you want to share some piece. Maybe you want to share something that came up for you in terms of your diagram. And it's always optional. That's the main thing to keep in mind. Nothing is forced here. You can keep your camera off the whole time if that's what you wish. So usually people are feeling like we're building a bit of community here and they're enjoying being seen and to see others. So that's a really brief view of what I'm doing these days, and I hope you might want to come and join us. You can always go to my website to see if there's other what sessions are coming up. I must admit my technology skills are growing, but they're still a little bit fuzzy, so hang in. You can always send me an email if that's easier for you, or even give me a phone call. I would be very, very joyed to talk to you about this process and see if it's a fit for you.